Wanted to say I'm was thinking I'm not sure why I was thinking about this, but it's the subject of Nobel Prizes in science. You may be surprised to learn that have you heard of the lobotomy when the brain's cut to make somebody sort of make them a vegetable? You know that? Would you be surprised to know that the lobotomy won Nobel Prize in 1949, I think it was? I was shocked when I actually read that. I had no idea. But it's things like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest portray lobotomies, and it's a now banned procedure. But I think it was actually banned from the 60s or 50s. But it was, and the reason I was wanting to make the video is that I know an academic who's saying, does he think that a plant scientist in Nottingham should get a Nobel Prize for inventing gene silencing? And I said, I actually think there's other things that are more interesting. How about Anthony Stace's work and clusters of water molecules that charge, like 2 and 3 plus charges? I think one of one thing to say in this video is I do think a lot of academics are not qualified to. What happens in the world is that thousands of academics every year are sent letters by Nobel people to nominate people to win Nobel Prizes. Thousands of academics. But having known a lot of academics over the years, I personally don't think most academics are qualified to actually make the decisions because I said to a parent recently because they have no common sense, but that's not the right way of putting it. She said, "But you don't need to have common sense to be a chemist." It's because they're too focused. Sorry, I think the reason most academics are not qualified to actually make decisions about Nobel Prizes is because they're very strange things get Nobel Prizes. I think sometimes just like if you uncover a new mechanism in cell biology, you get a Nobel Prize. Whether it even deserves it or not is I don't know. There are a lot of like smell mechanisms of how you smell good has got it. There are a lot of strange. Whether these things really deserve it, I don't know. Some of them I don't think do. Anyway, I think a lot of academics I meet are far too focused, and they don't really understand the subject properly well enough. Generally, yeah, they're focused in their field, and they come up with ideas for Nobel prizes. But as I said to this professor in Nottingham, when he said, "Do you think Professor Don should get a Nobel Prize for gene silencing?" I said, "No. I think how about Anthony Stace for his work? It's on clusters of water molecules. He's discovered. I think they're far too focused on just a very narrow bunch of ideas they have in their head, and they neglect other things, which often probably they don't even know about. Like Stephen Nottingham says gene silencing, but he probably wasn't even aware of Stace's work in water clusters and iron clusters, and which I think is more interesting. I think it's more significant. I think there's a lot of subjectivity in Nobel prizes. Um, I know PhD students have agreed there's too many given out. Academics tend not to because I suppose they want to have medals and they think some of them think like they should be given medals as rewards, but not if they don't deserve it. Anyway, it's just a personal view of mine. I think too many academics are too focused and don't understand enough at wider areas well enough to know what's really going on, and so they're unqualified to nominate Nobel prizes, and I think they make mistakes. I have criticized when the discovery that bacteria cause stomach ulcers won Nobel prizes in about 1999, 2000 or something. I thought that was ridiculous. Why? Because it's just another illness. Okay, they discovered bacteria causing not stress, but I don't think that was a big enough discovery. I mean, okay, they understood it was bacteria, not stress. I'm trying to remember. I think my criticism was that it's not the first disease to have its cause. It's not the first illness to have its cause identified. Big deal. I mean, okay, they start giving antibiotics rather than just telling people not to get stressed. But um, I suppose it was a breakthrough in understanding the cause of it. But it's not the first illness to have its cause figured out, and most of them don't get Nobel prizes. And I didn't think it really deserved it. It was over the top. Um, it's just I think I suppose there is a bit of subjectivity to it. Obviously, there's a breakthrough discovering that ulcers are caused by bacteria, not stress, but I still don't think it deserves a Nobel Prize. I mean, it's often, of course, people also, another reason why people often win these things is actually the only thing they've ever done. Like the people who invented PCR, I think they haven't actually done much else. I mean, they're obviously academics, but they aren't. Some people just get lucky and they don't do much else that's significant. Um, PCR did probably deserve it. Was it completely revolutionized the whole of molecular biology and um, business of cloning and making copies of DNA and DNA fingerprint had a huge impact in DNA fingerprinting, forensics, genetics, screening, all this stuff, crime investigation, just general molecular biology, DNA, RNA work, cancer work, because it allowed PCR allows you to take tiny amounts of DNA and multiply it up into much larger quantities very, very quickly. Whereas before, it had taken weeks to months of growing bacteria, growing yeast to multiply everything up. Weeks and weeks, months and months. But PCR lets you do it in half an hour or faster. It lets you do it within basically an hour or two. I think it takes half an hour or two, maybe even possibly quicker. But it's a fraction of the time compared to how it used to be. So I probably did deserve it. It's a very powerful technique, but yeah, but lobotomy won it. That ought to be straight. Had a huge impact in DNA fingerprinting, forensics, genetics, screening, all this stuff, crime investigation, just general molecular biology, DNA, RNA work, cancer work, because it allowed PCR allows you to take tiny amounts of DNA and multiply it up into much larger quantities very, very quickly. Whereas before, it had taken weeks to months of growing bacteria, growing yeast to multiply everything up. Weeks and weeks, months and months. But PCR lets you do it in half an hour or faster. It lets you do it within basically an hour or two. I think it takes half an hour or two, maybe even possibly quicker. But it's a fraction of the time compared to how it used to be. So I probably did deserve it. It's a very powerful technique, but yeah, but lobotomy won it. That ought to be straight. Another thing I'm puzzled by is another thing that really puzzles me is, how was it Jocelyn Brunel, who discovered pulsars, got the Royal Medal, got the Copley Medal a few years ago. I made a video about that on my channel. But she missed out on Nobel Prize because the men got it because everything was chauvinistic back then. What I don't understand is why Nobel Committee don't give her it instead now and strip the other two. Well, I think one of them may die, but why don't they wipe their name from the list and properly award it to her? An awful lot of these administrative decisions never get made, and doing this, the only thing I can think is there's too much ambiguity in the rules or something. And then, I don't know. It's obviously somebody doesn't know how to make a decision. Maybe there's rules behind it. But I heard Sebastian Coe saying the reason why they used to take longer to hand out drug bans and before he came along, became president, was that the rules are very ambiguous. Whereas since he's come along, bans are given out much quicker and more promptly when people are caught in drugs. So, because obviously he's got rid of the ambiguity and just makes it black and white. If you take drugs, you're a cheat, you're out. The last person I read about, Katir, was given provisional ban and then about 2 weeks later given a 2-year ban. I can tell you for a fact that 10, 15, 20 years ago or more, or even 30 years ago, if somebody had been caught in EPO like that or had missed tests, the ban would have taken months and months and months and months and months. It would have been many, many months before that 2-year ban was imposed. And they would have been able to do more racing. But Sebco comes along and literally is suspended provisionally. And then about 2 weeks later, two-year ban. It would have been, 25, 30 years ago, even 10, before Sebco was World Athletics president, that ban would have, it would have been months and months and months and months and months later, possibly even a year later. They took too long to be imposed, which meant these athletes were allowed to keep competing, which is really bad. But anyway, Sebco kind of sorted all that rubbish out. So yes, some of the thoughts of mine. Jocelyn Burnell needs to get a Nobel Prize for pulsars. Lobotomy probably will be white from it. What was the other one I mentioned? And yeah, I think too many academics are not really qualified and they're far too focused, I think. But yeah, Joyce Burnell altogether. Anyway, just some thoughts of mine. I've got a bad throat at the moment.